Good afternoon. You're watching Updates at Noon and I am Renee Fong. Travellers under 3 programs spared from 6-day COVID tests. Ukraine calls on global ban on Russian planes and ships. Travellers arriving in Malaysia from abroad through various programs will not be required to undergo the 6-day COVID-19 tests upon arrival, effective Thursday, 3rd March. In a statement yesterday, Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the new procedure applied to travellers entering Malaysia via the Air and Land Vaccinated Travel Lane (VTL) program between Malaysia and Singapore, Langkawi International Tourism Bubble (LITB) and One Stop Centre (OSC) for short-term business visitors. The Health Ministry MOH dropped the requirement to undergo the COVID-19 RT-KAG test on the 2nd, 4th and 6th day for travellers arriving in Malaysia under the 3 categories. He said the MOH had also dropped the requirement to undergo the COVID-19 RT-PCR or RT-KAG professional test for travellers arriving in Malaysia under the LITB program before leaving Langkawi Island. Apart from that, Khairi said MOH also dropped the rule to undergo RT-KAG self-testing for travellers arriving from the United Kingdom, which previously had to be done daily during the quarantine period. The COVID-19 test, which needs to be conducted 2 days before departure to Malaysia and upon arrival in Malaysia, is still maintained as per the existing protocol. He emphasized that this new procedure, however, only applies to travellers who enter Malaysia through the VTL, LITB and OSC programs only. Khairi added that for travellers who do not enter Malaysia through the 3 programs, the existing SOP and protocols are still in effect. Despite the respite in the weather, there was no easing of efforts by rescuers evacuating flood victims as volumes of water from upstream of major rivers flowed towards the sea. Terengganu Disaster Management Committee Secretariat, in updating the flood situation, said despite the increase in evacuees, the number of families affected by the flood had dropped slightly. State fire and rescue officials, however, continue to remind evacuees to evacuate to various shelters early to avoid any untoward incidents. Terengganu Fire and Rescue Department Director Mat Hilman Abdul Rashid added residents at 37 villages located at 11 main river estuaries in Terengganu are advised to be more vigilant following the risk of floods due to the high tide phenomenon expected to last until 5th March. He was met after visiting several high tide areas in Kuala Terengganu. Except for Kuala Terengganu, 7 other districts in the state are still experiencing rainfall. Travel agencies, including resort operators, have been asked to be more vigilant in managing the movement of tourists, especially to the resort islands, due to the current uncertain weather conditions. Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, said that people who wanted to travel were also asked to be more sensitive to changes in weather conditions based on the weather forecasts issued by the authorities. She said this when commenting on the incident of 385 tourists stranded in Pulau Perhentian, Terengganu due to rough seas and strong winds. She hoped that travel agencies would also be more careful before bringing tourists, as some of them would bring small children.
Kerana di peringkat negeri semuanya ada pihak autoriti yang membantu, yang memang sudah diketahui autoriti mempunyai kuasa tertentu untuk pergi ke laut untuk membantu ataupun untuk juga memberi komen mengenai cuaca. Jadi kami hanya memantau supaya ianya tidak tidak menjadi beban pesan kepada pihak negeri juga. Jadi sama-sama kita menjaga keselamatan orang ramai inilah.
She said this to reporters after the launch of the National Academy of Arts, Culture and Heritage 2022 calendar and the World Arts, Education and Culture Events 2021 Festival Summit in the nation's capital yesterday. Earlier, Datuk Sri Nancy in her speech said that the strengthening of strategic cooperation networks in the tourism and culture sectors played an important role in boosting the country's image and visibility on the international stage. The Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry, MAFI, remains committed to strengthening the national food security agenda by holding the Agrofood Industry Dialogue 2022 program held at LKIM Complex in Endau, Johor just now. The dialogue, which was launched by Minister of Agriculture and Food Industries, Datuk Sri Dr. Ronald Kiandi, was held to identify the agro-food sector, especially aspects of food security in efforts to strengthen the country's agro-food sector. Our reporter Owen Zaid has the details.
Yes, thank you. Currently right now at LKIM Endau Mersing to give updates regarding Johor Agrofood Industry Dialogue Session 2022, which is attended by the Minister of Agriculture and Food Industries, Datuk Sri Dr. Ronald Kiandi, where the program is aimed to strengthen the national food security agenda through ideas, sides and opinions among the industry players for the sake of driving the sector further. It involves the industry player to voice their concern over community issues mainly related to fishery. And the initiative also is aimed to fulfill the needs of the targeted members and ensuring their survival among industry players to keep on contributing to the nation. And the program's slogan, modernization and productivity, ensure food security, targeted 300 industry players, comprises subsectors such as farming, fishery, livestock, and the whole chain of agri-food. And the program also will include the Touch Point 8 fishing gear to 70 fishermen from Endau, Mersing, as well as sampan license to 50 fishermen from Mersing and Endau. Okay, that's all for now. From our report from Endau, back to the studio.
Malaysian dairy company Farm Fresh Berhad is eyeing proceeds of 1 billion ringgit and a market capitalisation of 2.5 billion ringgit upon its listing on Bursa Malaysia's main market based on its initial retail price of 1 ringgit and 35 cents per share. Proceeds to the company of about 301 million ringgit will be utilised to establish a new manufacturing hub, dairy farm and integrated processing facility in Malaysia, expansion of a production facility in Australia, regional expansion outside Malaysia, and for working capital together with listing expenses. The initial public offering en route for listing on 22nd March has secured support from a record number of 30 cornerstone investors, according to Farm Fresh in conjunction with its prospectus launch yesterday. The cornerstone investors will take up approximately 80% of the institutional offering tranche under the IPO. Its enlarged share capital will hit 1.86 billion shares on listing. Group Managing Director and Group Chief Executive Officer Lloyd Tuan Yi said that post-listing, the largest player in the ready-to-drink milk will execute plans to grow its market share and sales domestically and internationally.
But we are also looking at to export to Hong Kong as well. I think Singapore, we are doing well. I think this year onward, we will spend more in Singapore. And hopefully by end of the year, we can start to ship our Farm Fresh product to Hong Kong. Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Speaking to reporters, he added the main ingredients will still come from Australia. Loy said Farm Fresh is also looking to go downstream and produce finished products outside Australia. Loy said Farm Fresh is well positioned to capitalise on the sustained strong consumer demand for fresh milk products, in addition to addressing the insufficient local milk production visible today. From financial year ended 31st March 2019 to 31st March 2021, the group's compound annual growth rate for revenue was 65.9%, from 178.2 million ringgit to 490.5 million ringgit. Police are investigating incidents of burning and throwing away flags of political parties contesting the Johor state election in the Layang-Layang state constituency in Kluang yesterday. Johor Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat said so far they had found 3 political party flags that had been burned and thrown away during regular patrols conducted in the state constituency yesterday morning.
Itu kejadian bendera salah satu parti telah dibakar separuh je. Walau bagaimanapun pihak polis memberi keyakinan kita akan menyiasat siapa yang dalang di sebalik tersebut. Kita akan nasihatkan kepada semua yang kedua-dua beberapa pengundi ataupun penyokong dan sebagainya supaya mengambil tindakan secara positif.
He said this to reporters after visiting several Johor polls campaign locations of contesting candidates around Johor Bahru yesterday. He also advised all political parties contesting the Johor polls as well as their supporters to campaign maturely and avoid being too emotional as it could lead to fights. Datuk Kamarul Zaman reminded all parties involved in the Johor polls to continue to abide by the standard operating procedures SOPs set by the authorities to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Election Commission has set 12 March as the polling day for Johor state election with early voting on 8th March. With that, we end today's updates at noon. In our top story, travellers under 3 programs spared from 6-day COVID tests. Tune in to News at 10, coming up at 10 p.m. on My Freeview, Saluran Berita RTM channel 123. You can also stream the channel via YouTube or RTM's Click web portal and mobile app. Thank you for watching. I'm Renee Fong, wishing you a pleasant day.